You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. Tuesday, January 15th. We're live for the next 3 hours. I'm Dean Obeidallah, hoping to be your MBFF. On Twitter at Dean Obeidallah. Watch the monologue. We got a lot of guests in studio. You can watch the second and third hour with some great guests in studio at Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. Daily reminder, 25. We are at day 25 of Donald Trump's shutdown. Seriously, take a moment to think about this. Forget politics. Think about for a second that for over 3 weeks you did not get paid. How would that impact you and your family? And the worst part, you have no idea when the next check is coming. So you don't know how to plan. Like if someone said this is a 3-month shutdown, you could plan accordingly. But at the same time, if you're out of work, if you're one of the 800,000 federal workers or other millions of federal contractors out of work, it could be 3 days from now. It could be 2 months from now. It could be 4 months with Donald Trump. No one knows. And today, the U.S. Coast Guard, for the first time in U.S. history, went without pay. Today was their payday, and they didn't get a paycheck. So you have men and women on ships out at sea, guarding our nation, not being paid because Donald Trump wants border security, but he's not paying the actual people doing border security. This is where we stand. And today, Donald Trump tried to pick away some of the moderate Democrats. He called them to come to the White House for a meeting, for a lunch, and they stood him up, which makes sense because they didn't want like cold fast food from yesterday, whatever was left over from the Clemson spread. So that's where we stand. I applaud the Democrats for not going because they would have been used by Donald Trump as a photo op. You can negotiate, and they should be negotiating, but they should be behind closed doors, not as a circus, not as a photo op, but in good faith in trying to resolve this so that these people can go back to work and that our airports, the FDA for the food inspection continues and goes back into place. The FAA, we have more mechanics inspection. Air traffic controllers are not overworked. So tomorrow, by the way, I will not be in. I'm going to be moderating a town hall in my home state of New Jersey with Governor Phil Murphy. If you live in New Jersey, it's free. It's open to the public. We'll record it and play it next week as a special. It's going to be at it's called ICPC, the Islamic Center of Passaic County in Patterson from 7:30 to 8:30 and open to everyone. You don't have to be Muslim. And it's not a recruitment drive. It's not like you're going to come there. We're going to try to get you. No, it's open to everyone. And if you want to attend the event, RSVP on Eventbrite, or you can email me, dean@deanofradio.com, and I'll send you the information, or go to my Facebook page. It's all up there. So first, let's have a little help by Stephen Colbert to talk about the topic I want to get into at the top here. Here's first Colbert last night about Donald Trump and the big story of his ties to Russia. Clip number 1, please.
It's not every day that you can say, hey, did you see the big story about Trump being an agent of the Russian government over the weekend? Oh, my goodness. No, not that story. The other one. That too. Okay, couple stories. Let's take them through one at a time. Okay, first, the Times. The New York Times revealed that after Donald Trump fired James Comey in 2017, the FBI opened an inquiry into whether Trump was secretly working on behalf of Russia, which... Come on, no. I think that's ridiculous. There is nothing secret about it. He's just putting it out there. Hasn't done one damn thing Putin wouldn't like. Not one damn thing.
So there is Colbert doing a great job informing people about Article 1 in the New York Times. And here was the second article in the Washington Post. And again, I applaud Stephen Colbert for making it funny and informing an audience about what's going on. Here's clip number 2.
Then yesterday, the Washington Post revealed that Donald Trump has done everything in his power to conceal the content of his meetings with Vladimir Putin. In fact, there is no detailed record, even in classified files, of his face-to-face interaction with the Russian leader at 5 locations over the past 2 years. And because Trump wouldn't tell his own staff what he said to Putin, they were forced to read reports by U.S. intelligence agencies tracking the reaction in the Kremlin. Okay, guys, we got the Kremlin notes right here. Now, we just have to figure out who this golden agent dumbass is and what Operation Easiest Thing We've Ever Done is.
Funny stuff there. Look, I am not a conspiracy person. I don't enjoy conspiracy theories. I think they're so out there, and the idea Trump might be a Russian agent could usually be categorized as a crazy conspiracy theory. But something is going on here, and you just put together in the last week what's happened. But I think it's important to actually look the big picture here, because Donald Trump has more connections to Russia than actually Russians do at this point. And if someone just told you out of the blue, Russians want to help Donald Trump, and in turn he was going to help them, and the first time they reached out to each other was during the campaign, and from there Donald Trump helped them and they're helping him, that's far-fetched. That's hard to believe. But the reality is Donald Trump and Russia's relationship goes back to the late 1980s. And it's been a long-term cultivated relationship. Donald Trump went there in the 1980s, came back, put ads in the New York paper, which was calling for the sort of breakup of the American alliance, saying we shouldn't be defending allies if they're not paying their own bills, which is something Russia would have loved. And then you get to the late 1990s, Donald Trump can't get money from American banks. What all reporting suggests that he did get money then from Russian banks tied to the Kremlin, especially, and there's no doubt, with the Trump Toronto Tower. And then you get little things that say a lot. And sometimes it's the little things that tell you something is more than meets the eye. For example, in 2006, Ivanka Trump, yes, that Ivanka, got a private tour of the Kremlin by Felix Sater, who is a Russian-born guy with ties to the Russian mafia, who's a close friend of Donald Trump. She got a private tour of the Kremlin, including getting to sit in Vladimir Putin's chair. That's like sitting in Trump's chair when he's not there. You have to be well connected. We found out during the campaign that even though Donald Trump lied to us, actually we found out now Donald Trump lied to us that he had no connections, business dealings with Russia, kept saying it over and over during the campaign. There's no need to play the clips. We all know it. What we found out just about a month ago was that he had personally signed a letter of intent in October 2015, a 17-page, fully negotiated letter of intent to build Trump Tower in Moscow. And that went on through June 2016, even though he was lying to the American people, lying during the debates, not sharing why he was so supportive of Vladimir Putin. And here is another small thing, which I think says so much. If you wonder the relationship between the Trumps and Russia, this has always troubled me. In June 2016, Donald Trump Jr. gets emails from his friend, the music producer, saying the Argalara family, the big, powerful family that Trump's known for years, they emailed them and saying that Russian government wants to help, saying, quote, they've offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary in her dealings with Russia. Be very useful to your father. Adding, this is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump. And in the world of law, when you're cross-examining or trying to prove a point, it's not like television. It's not like Matlock, like, bang, I got you. It's the little things. Donald Trump Jr.'s response to an email that said this is obviously very high level and is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump. If Donald Trump Jr.'s response was, and it was very immediate, if it was, what are you talking about, Russian government help for my father? And why do you have incriminating information, or any sense of bewilderment whatsoever, it would say a lot to all of us. Instead, Donald Trump Jr.'s response was very simple. I'm out of town. If it's what you say, it's true. I love it. There was no question about why is the Russian government helping my father. I should talk to my dad about this. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not. No. It was accepting words. And again, quote, sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump. There was no doubt Donald Trump Jr., who had ongoing relationships with the Russians, who's also been quoted, and his brother Eric Trump been quoted, saying they had money funding from the Russians when they didn't get American bank funding. That's the backdrop. And I really think it's important to paint the picture to the American people what is going on historically, because then all of a sudden, it's not out of the blue that Russia tried to help Trump. And it's not out of the blue that Trump tried to help Russia. They've been cultivating each other. I think they've been cultivating Trump as an asset, an ally at least, an asset perhaps. The question is unwitting or witting is the big debate that we can have. Now, and here's more what we learned. So on Friday, we all learned about that after James Comey is fired, the FBI reportedly, this is not confirmed, it's really important, some of the media has been a little bit irresponsible, reportedly opened a counterintelligence investigation into Donald Trump to see if he'd been working on behalf of the Russian government. And that was right at, Trump fires James Comey on May 9th. May 10th, he has a meeting in their Oval Office with the Russians, no press allowed. We find out from Russian media that in that he rejoices over the firing of James Comey. May 12th, he tells Lester Holt, I fired Comey over the Russia thing. May 17th, Rod Rosenstein appoints Robert Mueller. In 8-day period, this happened. And here's the thing. I went back and looked at the Rod Rosenstein memo appointing Robert Mueller, and it's very clear. And when you look at the wording of this memo and the mandate for Robert Mueller, it must tell us all that they know so much more than we did, that they were going to appoint a special counsel to investigate specifically this, any links and or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the campaign of President Donald Trump. They actually put Donald Trump's name in this. This is not a game. You don't do this lightly because of the backlash that could happen to the FBI. So in the physical apparent manifestation of this investigation, because we don't know about the FBI behind the scene ones, Rod Rosenstein didn't do this, didn't say investigate any links and or coordination between Russia government and the campaign of Donald Trump because he fired James Comey. That would fly in the face of common sense. They know something. I don't know what. But I do know we learned something else just 2 days ago. Trump went to extraordinary lengths to conceal details of his meetings with Vladimir Putin. In fact, at least one occasion, taking possession of the notes of his own interpreter and instructing the interpreter not to discuss what transpired with other administration officials. As a result, U.S. officials say there is no detailed record, even classified files, of Trump's face-to-face interactions with Putin at 5 different locations. And then today, the New York Times opens a blockbuster article saying there are few things that Vladimir Putin of Russia desires more than the weakening of NATO, the military alliance among the U.S., Europe, and Canada that's deterred Soviet and Russian aggression for 70 years. The article went on to say, last year, though, Donald Trump suggested a move tantamount to destroying NATO, the withdrawal of the United States. And this is not 2016. This is not 2017. This is 2018. Quote, senior administration officials told the New York Times that several times over the course of 2018, Trump said he wanted to withdraw from NATO. Let's add to that. Last month, Donald Trump stunned his allies and possibly his own advisors, but certainly the Republicans in the Senate, by announcing the imminent withdrawal of our troops from Syria. That was so outrageous that Secretary of Defense James Mattis resigned in protest, but Putin publicly applauded it. Trump 2 weeks ago, at a press conference for no reason, defended Russia's invasion in 1979 of Afghanistan, saying the reason Russia was in Afghanistan was because terrorists were going to Russia. They were right to be there. That's not right. That's a Russian talking point, not anything the UN, the world, or anyone else would agree with. And look, I am not a conspiracy person. In my heart of hearts, I tend not to believe Donald Trump is actually a spy against the United States of America. But something is going on. And then today, he again and his allies went after Peter Strzok from the FBI, who was fired because of his text messages, which I will say objectively on their face, joking about getting rid of Trump. It was a joke, but if they had done that about Hillary, I look at it from the other side. If they had done that about Hillary Clinton, I would have been very concerned. I don't think I would say he should be fired. And today you had Lindsey Graham at the hearing with Bill Barr saying, I want you to look into the FBI. And Peter Strzok, and here's what's interesting when you go back and look at it. Peter Strzok was the man who was involved in a multi-year FBI investigation in 2010 that exposed a Russian spy ring out of Boston. A Russian spy ring that the Russians had invested years and years. The TV show The Americans are based on this family. Years and years of them infiltrating America. And Peter Strzok was instrumental in destroying it. At the time Peter Strzok was finally fired by Donald Trump, at least pushed out by Trump, he was the deputy assistant director of the counterintelligence division with a particular expertise on Russia. There are just too many coincidences here. There's, if you look at a person, an ongoing relationship, cultivating a relationship from the 1980s till now with Russia. They apparently lent him money when no one else would lend him money. And as president, he has certainly parroted Russian talking points, including standing with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki and standing with Putin on the world stage against U.S. intelligence. And you fill this in like a big chart on a wall, like if you went on Law and Order and you saw like the mafia flowchart, sort of a crossword puzzle, if you will. And you keep filling things in. And after a while, it's not a conspiracy theory going on that should not be. The best case for Donald Trump, sincerely, and I'm being as objective as possible, the best case is that they helped him when he was down, and he's a loyal person. He's all about loyalty, and he wants to help them, and he thinks he's doing it to help both countries at the same time. That's the best case scenario. And in between scenarios, they have compromise on him. They have something to blackmail him, whatever that might be. It's got to be more than a PP tape, folks. It's got to be something bigger. Another potential scenario is that he's an unwitting idiot, an unwitting asset, but an idiot who just likes to be celebrated and adulated, and they did all the right things and made him feel really good, and he wants to help them. The worst case scenario is that he's a witting asset of Russia, and I don't know why. But there are too many coincidences. We're beyond conspiracy. I cannot think beyond those scenarios what could be a plausible explanation. I don't know which one is true. I just do not yet. We can all guess. It's fair to guess, but we don't know. But this is not right. That I can tell you 100%, no doubt. It's just off the chart stuff. And at some point, we're going to get the answers. And Donald Trump has led a campaign for a year and a half to delegitimize the FBI, helped by his own ally. In fact, here's Lindsey Graham, quick quote today, talking to William Barr, the AG nominee, and he first read a bunch of Peter Strzok's texts and then goes after the FBI. Again, here's clip number 5 we'll jump to.
You say you've known Mueller a long time. Would you say you have a close relationship with Mr. Mueller?
Sorry about that. That's my fault. We're going to go to number 4.
To all those who enforce the law, you can have any opinion of us that you like, but you're supposed to do your job without an agenda. Do you promise me as Attorney General, if you get this job, to look in to see what happened in 2016?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
How do these statements sit with you?
I was shocked when I saw them.
Okay, please get to the bottom of it. I promise you we will protect the investigation, but we're relying upon you to clean this place up.
Is he talking about the investigation of Robert Mueller? No. Is he talking about these bizarre coincidences? No. He's talking about going and investigating the FBI over Peter Strzok text messages to Lisa Page, his mistress. And they were having an affair, and they joked around on text message. It's like a cover-up right in front of our eyes. Not one Republican will break to say there's something amiss here. I don't even want to say, what about if Obama did half of this, what they would be doing? It would be very clear. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show right after this.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
I think Trump clips that they play on the media should come with a health warning saying that if you watch this, you'll get dumber. Never has somebody said so much stupid in so little time as Donald Trump does.
SiriusXM Progress.